this match to happen. So I was hoping that he might do something to stir the pot a little bit more, you know, make a little bit more animosity between the guys. But it just pretty much sounded like he said, "Oh yeah, I'm here for a match with you," you know, click my paycheck, you know. I didn't. You know, he did talk about the fact that he wanted his wife and his son to see that and everything, but it just kind of felt like, oh, I'm here for my last hurrah. You know, I wanted a bit more, wanted a bit more passion and a bit more aggression.
Yeah, I thought it came off better than I thought I was expecting it to. I felt like when he was talking, it wasn't scripted. It looked like he was just talking, and I liked that. And there is a big difference, and I felt like it worked. It come through on the camera that way, for me anyway. But to me, Matt, it's just a bit of a shame that he's going up against Brock because I wish this was against somebody else, you know, even a Kevin Owens or something, and go that route just as a one-off match, because I just think there would have been so much more to gain from that, from getting the rub for someone like a Kevin Owens, quite frankly, who needs it a lot more than what Brock will need it. And you could have, I mean, I liked I mean, to be honest with you, when I saw him come down, Matt, he's definitely not the same guy as what we saw 12 years ago. You know, he's definitely an older guy, but he looks in great shape. I think we both said that last week, that he still keeps in shape fairly well. Um, but he looks like kind of like your last hero. That's like, you know, he's coming back for everybody. He's giving high fives to the fans. You know, the knuckles and all the rest of it. And this is like, you know, this is the sort of persona he's giving off so far. Did hear a few things come out last week. I don't really know how true they were, but we did have some emails about it and people suggesting that WWE may do a complete U-turn on all this and flip it upside down by having Goldberg turn heel before we get to Canada, because they were worried about, you know, some of the, maybe the reaction that he normally generally gets in Canada, over, you know, his main career. But again, that is a long time ago, so I don't know that would be the case. But then I guess as well, Matt, you've got to think, well, Brock, even though he says he's from Suplex City, I think that everybody would know by now that he represented Canada in UFC. Whether that will have a part to play in it, or I don't know. But do you see WWE doing that? Because I've seen them do it in the past. They like to have that big pop, get the reaction, get him on, you know, with the fans, because it's worth doing that for sure. And then they turn him heel. I have seen that before, but do you think they would do that with Goldberg, who's been all about the kids and he wants to do this for his kid? Does he want his kid to see his first match as a heel? I don't buy that. What do you think on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the way that they should go for me, because I think, you know, the fans have always liked Goldberg, you know, cheering for him and everything, and you know they're looking at a guy who's like in his 50s now, so like, what have you got if you take that away from him? People want to be cheering Goldberg, Goldberg, don't they? They like that, and they.
Mm.
It's part of his whole persona, you know, to come back and be the tough guy that gets cheered. I'm not too sure he'd work that great as a heel either, you know, really, because it would be like Batista Part 2, you know. They thought,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we'll bring back this old guy, you know, and then now we're going to turn him heel. I don't think people want to see that again. I mean, I like the interesting thing you brought up to me the other day was when you said about the pressure on, like, people were saying there might be a bit of pressure on Goldberg to turn heel. But then you said, well, what about Roman, you know? And
Yeah.
I completely agree with you there, because why turn Brock heel when you'd get a much huger reaction turning Roman heel?
Yeah, turning Goldberg heel. Yeah, I mean, totally with you there. I just don't see the sense. I'm not for any minute suggesting that when they get to Canada, Toronto especially, that the fans are not going to have a bit of fun with this, because I think they are. I think I think a lot of people, especially those Canadian fans, they're a different breed anyway, and they're very vocal, and they know their wrestling, and they will remember. I guarantee you that first match, and they're gonna know they can have a bit of fun with this. So I don't think it matters what WWE does, whether they make Goldberg heel or they don't, or anything else. I think the reaction is going to be the same. I think it's going to be all over the place, and they're just going to have to come up with something in backstage booking wise that's going to be very constructive and not blow this out like last time. I mean, they've got to do a hell of a job there. Matt, with regards to tonight on Raw, obviously Brock Lesnar is scheduled to be there. I guess this is the next part to play. Are you expecting anything, any fireworks from him? Or do you think it'll just be all Paul Heyman speaking, or do you think they might actually open up some stuff that we're all kind of waiting to hear, like something that's gonna get the water boiling as it will, and actually something you're interested in why we want to watch this match again?
Yeah, I would say this is all going to be like 95% Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that at the end of whatever Paul's going to say, Goldberg will, no, not Goldberg. I mean, Brock will pick up the mic and he will actually say then, like, I'm not here for this and that. I'm here to kick your ass, because when Brock speaks, he doesn't have to say a lot. The one thing that he says is a huge impact because less is more with Brock, isn't it? I mean, when you hear something like that, it has a bit more of an impact because when he said it, it's actually on his mind and he can't keep it in.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hope that they do. What Brock, I really like Brock. I think his place to his strengths is doing the interviews backstage when he sits down, and he does kind of like a UFC style interview, and he's normally very good at doing those. Very, very good, because you have an interviewer pulling the direction of where it needs to go, and then Paul Heyman will just trample all over it, and then Brock Lesnar steps in for sort of like the third part of the interview as such. You've got the interviewer, then you've got Paul Heyman, and then Brock comes in right at the end to get the main line in, and that seems to be very effective. So I hope that even if it doesn't come out tonight, I hope they kind of pre-record that for the future episodes, because that's always pretty decent. I remember Matt listening to him when he spoke about Randy Orton, and he was saying like we've never been friends. This guy's nothing compared to me, and that's much better for me to listen to Brock than it is sometimes to hear anything going on in the ring, because I think Brock comes across a lot more serious and genuine when he does that style of interview. So I think it's interesting. I mean, it's certainly creating buzz. I will say one thing, Matt. I think the timing of all this is slightly questionable, considering we've got Hell in a Cell coming up this Sunday, and the Goldberg Brock thing is really overshadowing quite a lot of this event. I don't know what you think about that, but it's strange timing to me. I mean, they must have a lot going forward. They need to cram into this storyline, because I don't know why they've decided to do it 2 weeks before Hell in a Cell. But I don't know what your feelings are on that, but I'm quite surprised myself on that. That's why I thought if Goldberg returns, we won't even know who he's facing until, say, after Hell in a Cell. But of course, that came very clear when Paul Heyman come out and issued the challenge. So we didn't get that, which is a shame, because I know I said this a few weeks ago on the podcast. I always believe the key to the dream match for getting people really into it is that you should kind of almost tease this match to the point where fans, in the end, they want to see it happen, not just give it to them like it's been handed to us on a plate. And we're all sort of scratching our heads as to why this is even happening, but that's just my feelings. Do you see anything? I know you said earlier on, Matt, that you wish there was more to get our teeth into, as finding out from Goldberg what his drive and motivation is a little bit more other than what we heard. Do you think there's much more to come in a feud between these guys up until that moment? Because we know there's going to be a date where both of them are on the same show, and I'm probably going to say it'll be a contract signing or something like that. Do you think there'll be a stipulation in the match, Matt, added?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, well, actually, I think there will be, more to come from the feud. As in, like, it's got to step it up a little bit. And if there is a contract signing or something, then Brock has to show his aggressive side. It can't just be seen as like two guys that are going to go in for a respectable kind of match to see who is the better one. Once a Brock was it's not what it's going to be about at all.
Yeah.
We're supposed to see that Brock hates anybody going above him, and the fact that Goldberg has one up on him, should be really, he should be steamed about that. So that's what I want to see. But as regards of a stipulation for a match, I'm not too sure we will see one like that, because if it goes the way that we suspect, and Brock actually wins the match, there's always space for the rubber match, isn't there? Like part
Yeah.
three, and then that's when you should up the ante a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Just something that was rumoured that I'd read. I don't know if you got wind of this. I did have one emailer send this through, and they were talking about the WWE using Bret Hart somewhere in this feud, and my reaction to that straight away is if they bring Bret into this, my God, he's got no hope in Canada as Goldberg. Because if they bring up that injury, that'll be it. you know, you don't understand Bret's popularity there. That's it. It's gone. So I think they might be, they'll be really silly if they want Goldberg to go in as much as he can as a face to bring Bret in at any time. I just think that might add more problems than it's worth. But interesting nonetheless. We'll wait and see. Matt, I want to bring up now SmackDown for a change. I don't often talk about SmackDown enough, perhaps, on this, but of all people, Matt, James James Ellsworth, who I've had these chats with before in the past, and we've had plans for a long time to get him on the podcast. But your feelings on how WWE is using this, because some people say this is a great thing, some people say it's a very bad thing. What's your reaction to it, Matt? Because as far as what I can see, it's working nicely. Despite its craziness, it is working nicely for WWE currently. What's your opinion on the whole James Ellsworth run at the moment of two shows, and again, getting two Colton victories, yes, but I mean, obviously Dean Ambrose essentially is the guy getting the wins for him. But what do you make of all that, and are you enjoying having him, come back and do this? Because since he's done that squash match with Braun Strowman, this guy has literally, all I see is this guy's face everywhere on everything. The video game, T-shirts, sign him up now, petitions, all the rest of it. Do you think this is a good thing, a good move for WWE to sort of pounce on something that's very much out there in the social media?
I think for the short term, yeah, it's great. I mean, I put him on the shows. It's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? I mean, people do like an underdog story, and he is the real underdog. This
Yeah.
guy, I mean, just his look doesn't work, and his skills doesn't work, and man, did he almost take himself out by taking a Styles Clash
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, this guy gets it wrong. I think in that sense, people love that. I mean, they want to see, that relatability. Anybody can have a chance. That's a good message to put out there. And I wouldn't say it would be something that people would stick with for the long term. But in the short term, yeah, just capitalise on this little bit of fame that he has, because he to me is a lot more better version than Gilbert when they had that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Matt. Does WWE end up signing him?
I wouldn't say they should sign him, because they've had things like this in the past. You remember when they had like Blue Pants, and then she was popular with the fans and everything, but there was just that thing like, do they really need this kind of person? They had before this, they had Santino, didn't they? And he was the sort of comic relief of the company and that, and it just becomes, after a while, you do kind of get tired of them.
Do you think, in a lot of ways, that what we get with James Ellsworth, it's a much weaker version, I know, of a Daniel Bryan, but that kind of guy that you could live next door to, that sort of ordinary person, seems to be much more, it seems to be much more appreciated by the fans as opposed to these great ginormous stars that WWE seems to put so much on, but yet they still can't get the crowd with them. Do you think this is a sign of the times sometimes, Matt, that the fans are almost deciding who should be there and who shouldn't? Is this another sort of power by the fans in a lot of ways, that he's there and this is happening? Because I'm quite sure a while ago this wouldn't be happening currently, but it is, and all credit for WWE for going along with this. But is this a sign of the times? Do you think that people just relate better to just ordinary people, and they like that whole proper. It's not a form